It's about us. It's not about luck, not about officiating. It's not about them. It doesn't matter if they have 0 scholarships or 80 full rides. The only thing that matters is one thing: how well we play. We met on a beautiful Saturday afternoon at Hayward, and they showed us their ability right away.
28 seconds to go. Biggs back to pass. He looks downfield. He throws it.
Looks like the game is over. Everybody leaves the stands. Our defense held. We got the ball back. And I looked up at the clock. 14 seconds left in the game.
Last and final play. Biggs is back to pass. He rolls out to his left. Avoids a rusher. Now rolls to his right. This is it. Throws it into the end zone. And it is caught one-handed by Everly.
Mike Everly makes a one-handed, left-handed catch, covered like a blanket.
Most spectacular catch. The Aggies have won the ball game.
And all of a sudden, the league was never the same again. We were never the same again.
The most incredible comeback in NCAA football history.
We broke the University of Oklahoma's record, which was at 14 consecutive conference championships, and then eventually went on 120 consecutive in a row, more than anybody in the history of American football.
February 1938, on a 160-acre farm just outside Oklahoma City, Jim Sochor is born to Leonard and Nyra Sochor. Within a few short years, the Sochor family moves to San Francisco, where the rolling streets, green parks, and foggy beaches become the playground for Jim and his older brother John. Growing up, Jim took quickly to sports and became the first 4-letter athlete at George Washington High School, where, in 1986, he became a member of their Athletic Hall of Fame. Jim carried his passion for sports into his collegiate career at San Francisco State University, where he lettered in 3 sports. Although Jim was an impressive all-around athlete, it was obvious early on that football was where his heart was. As quarterback, Sochor led the San Francisco State Gators to 3 straight league championships, and in his senior year was selected the Northern California Intercollegiate Back of the Year, and in 1975 was inducted into their Hall of Fame. It was also during his college years that he met and fell in love with his future wife, Donna. In 1960, Jim decided to pursue a master's degree at San Francisco State and studied coaching under his mentor, Joe Verducci. In 1965, Jim's studies led him to begin on his doctorate in education at the University of Utah, where Jim and Donna moved to after their wedding in Squaw Valley 2 years earlier. It was at the University of Utah that Jim began his search for a coaching position, a search that would ultimately transform UC Davis forever.
My wife and I came with our 2 daughters. I was 29 at the time. Once I started looking around the campus, I thought, wow, what a treasure. 5,500 acres of land, cattle ranches, sheep farms, dairies, bicycles, a beautiful swimming pool complex, recreation. I thought, this is paradise.
We were struggling as a program when Jim arrived. We were 500. We busted our butt. We had a great time, but we were not winning.
I remember in 1969 we had tremendous talent on the team. I think we had 3 or 4 guys drafted off of that team, yet we were still 4-6, a team that should have had a winning record. And I think we were just dragged down by our own reputation. It had been a program that had been in the doldrums, to say the least, for a number of years.
Jim was overly enamored with the Davis area and saw its football program and the city in general as a gold mine. 2 disappointing years into what was considered a 3-year position, Jim began looking elsewhere to further his coaching career. Then, rather unexpectedly, Davis head coach Herb Schmallenberger stepped down. All of a sudden, Jim Sochor was named the next UC Davis head football coach.
The year after I graduate, and where I'm sort of not sure what's going to happen, he becomes the head coach.
Coach Schmallenberger retired. Jim was elevated to head coach. And, you know, it just changed the whole demeanor of the team.
He was just starting as head coach. We were all young, had lots of enthusiasm, lots of energy.
And I think the first thing that Coach did was to attempt to change the psyche of the team.
I think it was a great thing for all of us that knew him, in that it was going to be a fresh, new approach to the team concept.
You could just tell he was different than Herb and the other coaches that were on the staff.
He was kind of young and green behind the ears when I first came on. I got a chance to call a lot of my own plays when he was a young coach.
For me personally, it meant a great deal because this was a whole different style from what I had played under and what I had grown up with in both high school and college.
He kept telling me while he was defense coordinator, this place is a gold mine, this place is a gold mine. And you could just tell that things were going to be different once he got the job.
Just watching the impact that he was having on the players and the people around him meant a great deal at the time.
It all started with Jim.
They hadn't won an outright championship in 21 years. The last winning coach with a cumulative overall record went back to 1915 as a winning coach. So it was a great opportunity for a young guy to get started, and I remember the athletic director walking me over to Hickey Jim and saying, "Jim, you're the head coach now. What makes you think you have a chance to win?" And I don't think he could see the forest for the trees. It was all there to do.
He came to me early on and said, you know, I know you're not sure exactly what you're going to do. Would you be interested in coaching? And at the time I thought, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And that was the beginning of it all.
Jim took on a different approach, and you could just kind of see it developing. He had a plan that he wanted to accomplish.
It was an attitude of family. And I remember that first year we walked from the stadium downtown to the theater together. All the coaches' wives cooked pastas for us out along Buda Creek. And we were a team.
All of a sudden the details, all of a sudden the sense of together, the sense of we don't really care about them, it's about us, I think hit us all immediately.
We set our goals very modestly. That first year we knew we weren't good enough to win the conference title. So we said, well, we want to compete strongly for the conference title. We want to have a winning season. And that's what we want to do. And so we got to the end of the year. We were 5-4. We needed one more game to have the winning season. It was against our traditional rival, Sac State. And we hadn't beaten Sacramento State, I think, in 7 years. They were a good-looking team at that point, had a nice winning record, and we met at the end of the year. We had one of our players said, "Coach, you know, we had this little tradition at our high school." He said the coach kept the seniors in the locker room before the game, and he talked to the seniors about their sacrifice, what it meant to the team, how much he appreciated their leadership qualities. And so I said, that sounds like a good idea, let's do it. And so we did it that first year. We beat Sac 20-0 that day and had our winning season. That became a real tradition for us.
When we really crushed Sac State and had that winning season.
The next year we said, you know, we could win this thing. So all of a sudden the belief system started to set in.
We believed because he believed, and he believed in us, and it just kind of grew that way.
We were at the bottom level of almost everything that we had, from the field to the films to the lockers and the whole works. But because we didn't look at that side of it, we could gain what we did have. We always wanted to look at what we had, not what we didn't have.
He just was always positive, and There was never a negative word that came from him, never a negative thought. He made believers out of us by keeping positive and making us believe in ourselves.
I had a very fortunate thing happen. A friend of mine came back from India, Tibet, and brought me a copy of the Tao Te Ching. So the Tao Te Ching said, get in the process of making it happen. Let go of results. Get there by not trying, meaning not trying too hard. Don't be your own worst enemy. You really don't have to do anything. The universe will decide. Once you get in the process, that will take care of the end results.
Coach always talked about reading the Tao Te Ching and Eastern philosophy and taking the path of least resistance, which when I came to Davis and to hear a football coach talk about those things, made sense to me, but were odd.
Very steeped in Eastern philosophy, which I have to be honest with you, at first I didn't really understand, but it certainly is a part of who I am and how I coach now. And the battle was always ourselves, and the battle was always how good can we be.
And he always put the focus on not so much winning, but on being the best we could be. And every day, every practice, every play, every game, every season, you know, we're basically competing against ourselves.
We had a little stadium called Toomey Field, but he always reminded us that the team that trusts itself the most, the team that is the most together and united, can do great things.
We empowered ourselves by modeling after the best. In the first 10 years in the 70s, you might guess it was the Dallas Cowboys became America's team. And they invited us down to spend time at their camp in Cal Lutheran in Thousand Oaks, California.
And so we would go down and they had the previous season outlined on film with each position evaluated, and we began to study their stuff.
He was always searching for ways that he could improve and get better. There was never a finale about, I got it now. There was never, I'm the guru. No, never that. He was never going to let anybody get ahead of him in terms of what was going on in offensive football.
We did that for 10 years. We gleaned everything they were doing, all the best things, and we picked up one of their drills, which was called the Pride Drill. And every Thursday at the end of practice, you'd line up on the 20-yard line with your offense. The defense would line up on the other end of the field and do their pride drill. And for 5 minutes straight, we would do everything perfectly. Your chin straps were buckled, shirts were tucked in, no fumbles, no drop balls. And then the last minute, you do about 3 or 4 plays. I mean, you're really going hard. So it's conditioning as well as perfection and polishing. At the end of that, you celebrate in the end zone. And then that's the end of practice. That became a huge tool for us to build our self-esteem. Everything was working to build self-esteem and a belief system that we want to become almost insuperable.
In Jim's second season as head coach, the Aggies would pick right up where they had left off, winning 6 of their first 7 games. But little did they know that in order to win the conference championship, they'd need a miracle.
We met on a beautiful Saturday afternoon at Hayward, and they showed us their ability right away. They were 6-0 and we were 6-1. They were talented, they were fast, quick, but it was 14-all at the half. We battled hard. Then they went ahead 29-14.
We were behind by, I believe it was 15 points.
All the way into the fourth quarter, we make this little drive. They make this one-handed, left-handed interception there, free safety. Looks like the game is over. Everybody leaves the stands, surrounds the field to congratulate Hayward. Our defense held. We got the ball back. We drove, got down to the 3-yard line. I looked up at the clock. 20 seconds left in the game.
We're down on the 2-yard line or something. Ran an inside trap. Great call, Sochor.
2-yard line. He takes the snap. He hands it off to George Mott, straight up the middle. Touchdown, Aggie!
Made the 2-point play. Got the onside kick. 14 seconds left in the game. We decided to go deep for Mike Everly in the end zone, covered by 4 people, doesn't catch the ball.
Just over the outstretched arms of Mike Everly.
9 seconds left. We said, we got plenty of time. Let's throw a deep out to Tay Thompson on the sideline.
Can the Aggies do it? 9 seconds to go. Biggs is back to pass. He looks down the field. He fires it over to the sideline, and Tay Thompson has got it. He's out of bounds at the 20.
We complete that, and we're on about their 28-yard line.
4 seconds to go. Biggs is back to pass. He sidesteps a tackler. He looks down the field. He fires it into the end zone. It's caught by Bellotti. It's in the end zone.
We throw this pass to Mike Bellotti, who's playing tight end, and Mike scores, no time left on the clock. So we line up on the 3-yard line. They break through our line. The whistle blows.
We got a flag, and the officials were going to call the game, and Swimley came down out of the press box like a baseball coach and was in that guy's face so fast. The official changed his mind and got the right call. You can't end the game on a penalty.
So he said, oh yeah, that's right, and clear the field. Took a while. Put the ball on the 8-yard line. Same thing happens again. Ball's not snapped.
And the Aggies have jumped off sides again.
Put the ball on the 13-yard line. Roll out to the left. Can't find Tay Thompson. Come back to the right. Get 3 key blocks. And Bob Biggs finds his old high school teammate, Mike Everly. Makes a one-handed, left-handed catch. Covered like a blanket.
And we win the game. I mean, that was bizarre.
The most incredible comeback in NCAA football history.
The paradigm was set. We end up going 9-1, tie for the conference championship.
It was like, oh my goodness, you know, these things we're talking about, how we don't care about the opponent, we're interested in us, and if we do our thing, we can be successful.
That was kind of a defining moment that I think really changed how people viewed, you know, the Davis program and what the potential at Davis was.
The look in everyone's eye was, I'll be darned. You know, the sky is the limit. We can really do this.
We used that film and that game situation for years and years and years after that. It teaches a lesson about never giving up.
It was a defining moment in UC Davis football history.
You fight through adversity, you have mental toughness. It's a real special thing. It's a real special thing.
Being willing to go out above and beyond for the guy next to you. It's always going the extra effort, taking the extra step.
The only way we were going to compete is that we were going to be able to get closer together than those guys.
We were going to do everything in our power to do our absolute best at all times.
You give everything you have, you give to your teammates, you give to yourself, and you lay it all out on the field. That's what Aggie Pride's all about.
All of a sudden, Aggie Pride became the hallmark, not just of our football program, but of the entire campus up to this day.
Guys really liked each other. They had a lot of pride in themselves, and we got better and better and started winning football games.
Following up the first winning season in nearly a decade, the Aggies captured a share of the conference championship. Coach's vision of Aggie Pride was quickly becoming a reality.
We set our central values. We said, okay, what are we going to do? What's going to make the difference here? And decided that it was going to be 3 things. Trust, unity, and togetherness. That nobody would be closer as a football team than we would be. And so that's what we based our foundation on, those central values. Added a few other things along with it, and that all became Aggie Pride, and it's all history today.
I can remember going to a Raider practice early on with Jim when I was just starting to coach, and the players were all sitting on the sidelines, sitting on their helmets. And I can remember him saying, that is the worst thing that you could possibly do to a helmet.
Your helmet's the most important piece of equipment that you have. It's going to save your life. Treat it with respect and dignity. And the way you treat your helmet is the way you treat everybody in the program. Whether it's the admissions office or housing or meals or assistant coaches. And it was unbelievable what happened. We would get players that would come in, say, from junior college. They'd go to the first meeting. He'd go out on the field, put his helmet on the ground, or he'd sit on it. It was the players. Hey, we don't do that here. This program is different. This is special. And all of a sudden, we would go through our early practice in August. It'd be 100 degrees. And we'd say, okay, you can take your helmets and shoulder pads off if you want, and we're going to wind down by running 1000s at half to 3/4 speed. So they'd take off their helmets and shoulder pads, and they'd look at each other, and they'd say, what are we going to do with this helmet? We can't put it on the ground. And all of a sudden, you'd see 100 helmets lined up on the fence. And you go, wow, look at that.
And I think there's a real method to their madness that, you know, people need to be accountable for their own lives, that these people and Coach Sochor are there to support you, help you grow, help you develop, but if they're there to do everything for you, that doesn't help you in the long run.
People don't understand how huge part of Aggie pride and huge part of our success that was, because it embedded and embodied the whole meaning of Aggie pride.
It's just a feeling of togetherness.
For me, it's just knowing that any time that you got on the field when it was time to compete, that you were in charge.
To never give up, no matter what.
It's this quality balance of life. It's this excellence with class. It's what we don't always see, this appreciation for family.
I think it can even mean different things to different people.
Never give up and trust each other.
Trusting one another and respecting one another and treating people properly.
It's about trust, togetherness, unity.
Winning and losing will take care of itself.
And the whole program was brought up under a certain philosophy of treating people a certain way, of having a high degree of expectations and high standards for excellence.
Where our standards were, how we felt about the university, the team, our coaches, our teammates, that we were going to do everything in our power to do our absolute best at all times.
If you looked at our program, it was like, what the hell, you got nothing here. You got no field, you got no facilities, we didn't have a recruiting budget. And then you look underneath and you find that the players are working all year round on their own because they want to be the best they can be. All of a sudden we were a national power in Division II without ever having scholarships, spring practice, or any mandatory programs in the off season.
I mean, we were one unit. It was us. You know, we were representing University of California, Davis. That's who we were. When we put that uniform on, you know, we had the student body behind us. That stadium would be sold out, packed. There'd be people everywhere.
An exciting time for me to be a tight end coming into a program like he had.
The camaraderie on that team, the closeness of the players, we said we're going to go after it. Whether we have scholarships or not, it doesn't matter.
We knew we wouldn't always be the biggest. We knew we wouldn't have the best facilities. We had no spring practice. We had no off-season program.
And I think that's what was the beautiful thing about Davis is they really catered to no one. They were there to help you grow, help you mature, help you become a really good player if that's what you want.
The play is shuttled in from the near side. Jim Sochor and his staff called all plays offensively for the unbeaten Aggies.
He always reminded us that the team that trusts itself the most, the team that is the most together and united, can do great things.
Under pressure, Terry Close completes the pass out here. Randy Wiggins at midfield before Mike Davidson comes up and knocks him out of bounds. Here's Rogers. Touchdown, Davis.
There was such a sincere belief that we would overcome regardless of the situation. Our players are going to play to their best, and that we were going to win every game.
Any team that we played had the ability to beat us, certainly. But any team that we played, we also had the ability to beat.
Nothing ever rattled Coach Sochor. I mean, we could be down, we'd have a fumble, we'd have a major problem, and he stayed cool, calm, and collect. We never lost our wits.
And they were asking me about memories I had of the tomb. Well, there was this one. Jim is still standing like this, but you look at the picture and his feet are 2 feet off the ground. Now, how he jumped 2 feet in the air with his arms like this, I don't know, but that just showed that inside he burned with fire just like everybody else. He just kept it under control.
But I think Jim's legacy was always the quarterback and the offense and the strategy and the napkins where you're drawing the plays and, well, what if we do this and what if we do that? Because how much Jim knew was not the issue. Jim's whole issue was how much I can get to the quarterback.
All the names, you know, you can go back with Bob Biggs was starting and the miracle game certainly with Bellotti and then you go through and, you know, Danny Carmazzi with all the touchdown passes and Jim Speck and Mike Morawski. The list is endless of guys. You know, while Davis has always been thought of as being a big offensive powerhouse, they've had some great defensive teams, and you know, with Bob Foster there.
We kind of complemented each other, and he was kind of a low-key guy, and I was kind of a, you know, fire out, go get him type of guy. So I think we complement each other quite nicely.
Carried by strong offenses, talented quarterbacks, and a staunch defense, the Aggies won conference championships for 11 straight seasons. Then in 1982, Coach Sochor took his team to the NC2A Division II National Championship, something that had never been done in UC Davis history.
In 1982, in fact, it was a great team, and I was a sophomore, King O'Brien was a senior, and we went to the national championship game. We beat UOP that year.
It's pretty amazing when you think back about a group of non-scholarship kids being able to get those opportunities.
Unfortunately, we lost Ken O'Brien, I believe, in the semifinal game.
But Kenny O'Brien broke his leg against North Dakota State the game before that. So as a 19-year-old sophomore, my first start was that game against Southwest Texas State in McAllen, Texas.
We went down and we played a team in the wind.
He has a strong leg and he kicks with a very strong following wind and a line drive that goes like a bullet.
Scott Berry came in and played real well.
Sophomore Scott Berry pass on first down is beautifully caught by Alan Fleming, number 20.
We had a real good team. It was just one of those days where the other guys played a little bit better and made some plays.
It's fourth down. Coble diving scores the touchdown. His 8th touchdown of the year.
They were a great team, and I thought we played pretty well against them, just couldn't pull it off. But it was a wonderful season, and we felt we had a lot of pride about that season.
The last play of the football game, it is gathered in by Craig Walsh, number 16, and the football game is over. So the final score, Southwest Texas State 34, Cal Davis 9.
Looking back on those years, I think that was kind of the pinnacle of probably Coach's era going to that national championship game, because he always talked about the national championship.
It was a blast to play. It was never like you had to work. It was always a lot of fun.
UC Davis fell short to Southwest Texas State in the 1982 national championship. Despite the disappointment of coming up short, nothing changed at UC Davis. The next season, they picked up right where they left off, winning another conference championship. Coach Sochor had accumulated a stunning record of 156, 41, and 5. In conference games under Sochor, the Aggies were 92-5, with winning streaks of 41 and 38 games, including a remarkable 18-1 record versus their rival Sacramento State in the Causeway Classic. In 1985, the Aggies clinched their 15th straight conference championship, breaking the Oklahoma Sooners' NC2A record of 14 straight championships.
I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, it really is. I mean, how that could happen every year, I mean, just by pure luck or bad luck or whatever. I mean, one year it shouldn't have happened, but somehow they got it done. Somehow he had that system and that train, and that UC Davis machine was rolling and was not to be denied.
In 1988, after 18 straight conference championships, Jim Sochor stepped down as UC Davis's head football coach. He moved on and became the school's athletic director for 5 years and coached the men's golf team. Jim Sochor, as it turned out, still had some football left in him, and in 1996, he became the offensive coordinator for the Scottish Claymores of NFL Europe. In just his first season with the team, he helped guide the Claymores to a World Bowl championship. The UC Davis program continued its winning ways after Jim's retirement. Longtime defensive coordinator Bob Foster took over and promptly pushed the conference championship streak up to a stunning 20 straight seasons. In 1993, former Miracle Game quarterback Bob Biggs became head coach and promptly led his team to yet another conference title. Coach Biggs went on to have 14 straight winning seasons during his run as head coach of the Aggies. His tenure with UC Davis as quarterback, assistant coach, and head coach spanned over 4 decades. In 2005, Bob Biggs orchestrated his own version of the Miracle Game, as UC Davis came from 17 points down with a touchdown in the final seconds to shock Stanford 20-17.
Touchdown, UC Davis! They have done it! Ryan Smith with the biggest catch in UC Davis!
The never-give-up attitude of Aggie pride has also surfaced in places outside Davis, like the 2007 Fiesta Bowl, where former Aggie quarterback and assistant coach Chris Peterson channeled Aggie pride and led his underdog Boise State Broncos to a shocking upset of the Oklahoma Sooners, a game widely considered one of the greatest college football games of all time.
When you're Cinderella, at a certain point, you don't keep slugging with the big guy. Boise State for the win. They hand it off to Johnson. Boise State has won. Can you believe it?
The UC Davis connection to improbable wins didn't stop there. At the 2015 Alamo Bowl, Former UC Davis assistant and now TCU head coach Gary Patterson led the Horned Frogs back from a 31-0 halftime deficit to beat the Oregon Ducks 47-41 in triple overtime.
TCU finds a way to match the biggest comeback win in bowl history.
I think that the other guys that have been disciples of the Aggie program who've broken off and done things have shown that there's another way to look at things.
Those roots and that foundation is something that I've really tried to carry forward.
He was just very meticulous in his approach to every aspect of life, which I think rubbed off on me in a real positive way as a player, and then as a coach, and now even more.
I learned little things about detail and paying attention to detail, and I think that probably as much as anything is, where he's been most influential.
And the guy that really got me started, if it hadn't been for Jim, I never would have coached.
But I think one of the things that Coach Socher's done such a great job is he surrounded himself with just tremendous people, guys that are a lot like himself. I mean, the Bob Biggses and the Bob Fosters and the Mike Morosky's and Lou Bronsons and Fred Arps.
You've got the Mike Bellattis and Nick Aliotis and Neil Zambucas and Paul Hackett and Nate Hackett and Gary Patterson at TCU. Although he did not go here, Gary Patterson would tell you that a lot of his coaching was formed here at UC Davis.
Chris Peterson and Dan Hawkins now, and there's quite a few more other people that have touched the Davis program in the years.
They had that same philosophy, same beliefs, same mentality.
The biggest point about moving away from Jim Sochor was what you took with you at the quarterback position. I think that when you look at Bellotti and you look at Chris Peterson, you look at those of us that were lucky enough to work right next to him, Bob Biggs at the start of the line, we took a special way of talking to them, of coaching them, of teaching them. And in the game, that's the number one position. I mean, it doesn't matter what level you're at, that's the position you have to excel at.
His impact on college football, certainly far-reaching. The record is one thing, but the manner in which that record was achieved is what stands out in my mind.
Jim Sochor was not only a coach to many of us, but he also was a very good friend.
The classiest person that you'd ever want to meet. Didn't have an ounce of rudeness, treated everybody with respect.
He always had time for everybody. I never, ever saw him turn somebody away. And that was his true gift to the world, I think.
I owe a lot of the success I've had in life to what he taught our team.
He treated everybody with respect. There wasn't any yelling and screaming. There's going to be mistakes made. He was good with that. He knew that those were going to happen, but as long as he had his management style of being the way he was, it wasn't going to happen very often.
How he treated the players, his respect for the players, not a lot of yelling, a lot of teaching.
He was the right guy in the right place at the right time and brought absolute tremendous amount to the table.
You don't know how programs get started, but this one we know how it got started.
It started with one guy, and then that bled through the rest of the coaches.
Under the leadership of Jim Sochor, Bob Foster, and Bob Biggs, the Aggies ended up with an unbelievable 37 straight winning seasons.
We could go into a big stadium and we could play well, or we could go into a little stadium and still play well. And that's the mark of a good program, when you can win when you're expected to win and win when you're not expected to win. And the greatest rewards come as the underdog. That's cloud nine.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time it is my pleasure to introduce to you, to present to you, this year's enshrinees. Never had a losing season, won 18 consecutive league titles, and finished second in the nation in 1982. The following year, he was National Division II Coach of the Year. Coach Jim Sochor of the University of California, Davis.
Bob's career started at UC Davis as an assistant coach in 1971. Where he helped craft some of the toughest defenses in school history. Today we're honored to recognize Bob Foster with the Bob Foster Team Center. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating Bob Foster. He was coach of the Aggies during the miracle game against Cal State Hayward, in which UC Davis scored 16 points in the final 20 seconds for a 30-29 win in 1971. He's had 13 players drafted into the NFL, and today we recognize, we honor Jim Sochor by naming this field Jim Sochor Field.